ontogeny.
Let's see if that'll do it. Alright, can you see or hear me, anybody? Did we have a successful scene change? Let's hope so. Welcome everyone, if you can see or hear me. Welcome back. Alright, excellent. Well, welcome everybody back to Paleontologizing. It's really good to have you here. I'm out in the desert of eastern Utah, digging with my crew over there. There's our quarry. And we just got here a couple days ago. We are continuing to open up the site from last summer. We're digging up some iguanodontian dinosaurs and a few other things. And I'm really glad that you're here to be part of this. So welcome back to Paleontologizing. If it's anybody's very first time, then shoot, you are in luck. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. And I dig up dinosaurs during the summer. That's what I'm doing out here right now. Broadcasting to you live via satellite. There's the dish and the solar panels and the solar battery over there. And there's the crew underneath our shade tarps. It is a pretty chilly, maybe 95 degrees right now out here in eastern Utah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. It is hopefully not going to be a super short stream today. I'm having a bit of a technology issue with my mobile encoder, which that light should not be blinking red right there. That tells me there's some kind of a problem where the internal battery is not charging, despite the fact that it is hooked up to the battery pack. The camera came unplugged for a second and then it lost power, so it took a minute to turn back on. You know, this is a complicated setup here, and there are many points of failure. Are we back? Let me know if we're back, chat. Okay, good. Excellent. Scient Streams, how are you doing? Welcome. Great to have everybody here. Welcome to the desert of eastern Utah. And it's actually, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not cold today. It's a pretty hot one, as it usually is during this time of year in this part of the world. But yeah, my crew right there, we are digging up some iguanodontian dinosaurs. Well, we're going to be doing that soon as we get to the bone layer. In the earliest Cretaceous Cedar Mountain Formation. Well, anyway, cross your fingers that this isn't a super short stream. I am having an equipment issue. So, cross your fingers that doesn't sink us today. But yeah, let me know if you've got any questions there. Red Soul says, what does it smell like out there? I don't know, like dirt. The air is very dry out here. It's something like 20% humidity. Yeah, it smells like fresh air and dirt in a good way. It's a good smell. Yeah. How deep is the bone layer, says Chilantosaurus? Well, we're almost down to it. You want to go see? Maybe let's go investigate. Yeah. Hey, Joe3, how you doing? Yeah. And little Teresa says, what does the bone layer mean in this situation? The layer in which the bones are. Yeah, so we've got to dig down to get to where the bones are. That's the bone layer. Let me show you. Let's go take a look. All right. So those of you who were here yesterday remember the wooden pallet that we were trying to get to, which denotes where the bone layer was from last year. Well, we buried this wooden pallet in there at the end of last summer, and now here it is. It has been excavated, and it was right about there where Fisher is standing, or maybe a little bit deeper than that, actually. Yeah, right over here. There we go. Thanks, Fisher. So it was right here this morning. So we've made a good deal of progress moving a lot of this, what we call overburden. Overburden is all of the rock and crud above the bone layer. But yeah, it's been a lot of work today. This whole berm right here did not exist this morning. This is a lot of the overburden that we placed there to act as kind of a water break. So this can fill up with water here, and it won't go into the quarry, hopefully, if it rains. And then all of this also was there in the quarry this morning, and all of those piles over there, and much of this. So we've dug a good amount, just like Fisher's doing right now. And yeah. Pretty cool, right? Let's see. Shenenvy, hey, how are you doing? Welcome to Paleontologizing. What's shaking? It's good to have you here. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. And Science Streams wants to know, what does one do with the overburden once you finish? I mean, we just leave it there and then it washes away. So this whole berm right here, we built last year because this is like a natural wash. When there's like a bunch of rain suddenly here, since the ground is so dry, it can only absorb so much water at a time, and then you can get like a flash flood or something like that. So occasionally we'll have like a really intense storm that comes through, and then you just get a torrent of water that goes down these gullies here. These washes is what we call them. So we kind of piled a bunch of our overburden here in order to help funnel the water away from the quarry. So it should go down in that direction. And then did this here too. So we're just going to leave this here for the rest of the summer. And over time, it'll just kind of gradually weather until it looks more like this. It looks much more natural. So yeah. And I have video of last summer when we had a sudden storm. You know, this big but very prolific rain cloud came through and just dumped all of this water. And there was just a torrent of water coming through here. And unfortunately, a good amount also went down near the quarry. We were able to keep most of it out because we generally know what we're doing, digging drainage ditches and stuff like that. But, you know, out here in the desert, outside of laboratory conditions, things get unpredictable. Things can go sideways. But yeah, I don't know. And try and plan for the worst, but anywho, yeah. Have any natural disasters occurred at the site before? Definitely, Chilantosaurus. You mean in the entire history of dinosaur paleontology? Yeah, of course. There have been natural disasters. I've never really experienced any. Cross your fingers it stays that way. But yeah. But anyway, yeah. Yeah. Any other questions we got? Let me, let's see. ZXSQ says, as deserty places are wont to do, like what happened to Ghost Town living through. There you go, yeah. Science Stream says, oh wow, it doesn't look like it ever rains. When it rains here. Refrigerator, how are you doing? Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. And Tommy Plodicus wants to know, how is Ethan's drive to Ohio? Not too bad, I think. We can ask him when he gets back. He took the truck into camp a little while ago. He should be back pretty soon. So yeah. Anywho. Yeah, again, there's not too much to show in the actual quarry itself right now, given that we just got here yesterday and started digging. And we're just approaching the bone layer again right now. But this whole area where Fisher's working and where Justin is sitting right there, we're going to be removing a lot of this to get down to the bone layer, and then once we're down in the bone layer itself, the pace changes. We start working with hand tools, going a lot more slowly. Because you don't want to be using a pick or a shovel where there might be bone. You want to use smaller, more precise tools as you're working more slowly so you don't actually destroy any of the bones. Yeah, but right now, Fisher right there is just removing some overburden just above the bone layer. Yeah, and Relo Rolo, fossil where a mammal attacked a dinosaur? You're talking about Repenomamus, Relo Rolo? Bet you Fisher could tell you about that, actually. Yeah.
You're probably talking about something more recent.
Oh, was there a more recent one?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, yeah, tell me about it.
I don't know anything about it. I've just seen some happenings going on online.
Oh, okay.
About a
Interesting.
fossil of a mammal and a dinosaur interlocked in combat.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a cetacosaur and some probably large mammal.
Interesting. A little baby cetacosaur or something? Yeah.
I don't know, maybe an adult. I'll have to look into it more.
Interesting. Okay. I did not hear about that, no. Yeah. But yeah. And Chilanti says, what tools do we use? Well, you can see some of them here. We've got a trusty shovel right there. We've got some rock hammers. We've got a mallet. Let me show you my tool bag. Let me get that out and I'll show you. There's my gloves right there, which I should have been wearing from the beginning of yesterday, but I did not. Now I've got a wound on my thumb, but that should heal pretty quickly, I hope. Let's see. Where'd my tool bag go? Where is that? I have to track down my tool bag.
Oh, so fired. There was a big pile of rocks on top of it. Fisher. Oh, and it's on live stream too. Oh, he's so in trouble.
Ruined.
Should we tell the story of why I am so upset?
Should we? Please.
I think so.
Yeah.
We have these nails that we use to make our mapping grid.
Yeah.
Later, if you want, I could show you one of the maps from last year.
Can you point to the nail right there?
Yeah, there's one here.
They're, as you can tell, chat, they're kind of hard to spot sometimes.
Yeah. And there's little nails, and we have some larger nails.
Yeah.
That one says 50 east, 96 north. So the north line goes this way, east west line goes this way. And so when we map the bones, we have a little meter square that we put over, and then we draw our map on our little square of graph paper. And so that's how we map the bones in. And it's really nice to have the grid squares from last year, because that way it's consistent, and then we don't have to reset the grid, which also has some inaccuracies. So I always tell people the most important thing out here, even more important than the fossils or our health or having dinner, is to make sure that you do not mess with the nails. And so Fisher knows that well. He's been here for 3 seasons, and that one was kind of a vulnerable nail because we are moving dirt here. And so that we wouldn't mess with it, we actually put a big pile of rocks around it.
Oh. Well, that disguised the nail.
Covered it in matrix.
Somebody forgot that there was a nail under the pile. The tag is gone. No dinner for him tonight. Obviously, I'm joking somewhat.
But it's important. Like, data like this is extremely important.
And I'm usually the guy who has to reestablish and do all the mapping, and so I have,
So if anyone has a right to get mad, it's you.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun to get mad too, and then now the spot's gone. We usually can find the little rust spot, but I mean, we have some now.
You get a soft brush, you could probably find the hole somewhere.
Yeah, give him
Yeah.
man a little brush.
I'm trying to find my tool bag too. Have you seen a tan zippered tool bag? That's it. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. Remember, when you go on a dig, don't mess with the nails.
All right. So yeah, somebody was asking about what are the tools that we use out here. So I've got my tool bag. It's a little bit messy right now, and it's actually missing a few tools. Where did I put my scoop with the? Let's see. Have you seen a black oyster knife anywhere?
Yeah,
it was inside of a red scoop.
Oh, it's behind.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Marissa. Appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, so this is one that I use a lot for the actual digging part. So this is an oyster knife, like you might use for opening oysters if you're the sort of person who eats oysters. I've never been a fan, but I'm a big fan of this for digging up dinosaurs. More and better dinosaurs have been dug up with this simple, humble tool than anything ever rolled off the line at Caterpillar or John Deere or anything like that. This is the sort of tool that we use to dig up dinosaurs. This and tools like this, an awl. This is a really nice one because it actually has the metal, what's it called, metal pawling on here? So you can actually hit that with a hammer and it won't completely destroy the awl. And then, yeah, other various tools, pencil, toothbrush for brushing, another soft brush for brushing. Pretty simple stuff, you know? This certainly isn't rocket surgery out here, nor is it as well funded. So, yeah. You can see Marissa's using a whisk broom right there. Dawn and Justin have got some soft brushes and a plastic feed scoop, like you might get at an agricultural supply store, or like scooping animal feed. Yeah, fairly simple tools, but that's how it works. Yeah. And let's see, where's the mustard bottle? Texas cryptid. Well, we haven't found any bones here yet this season, so we don't really have much need for glue at the moment, but we will have glue bottles out here soon, and I brought some of those mustard bottles. Don, I've told you about the mustard bottles for glue, right?
So I'm looking forward to giving them a try.
Yeah, I brought, I think, 2 or 3.
I like almost everything, but I've never had a taste for mustard, so.
Well, they're empty, so.
A little bit. At least you won't have to worry about me drinking the glue out of the mustard.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah. And Dave Nevius says, you'd think there'd be no shortage of volunteers for this. Well, that's the thing, is that this is not a very big site, and we certainly do not have a big budget out here. So while we need volunteers, there's not really capacity for very many volunteers, if that makes sense. And yeah, Marissa and Gretchen are just here for a few days, and we'll probably, if she's cool, that we'll talk to Marissa in a little bit about her her enterprise with bringing volunteers out to different places like this. So yeah. But anyway, yeah. And do you just get to this site, or have you been here for a bit? Oh, dokie dokie. I've been here for, 2 days now? We just got here on Tuesday. So we started opening this site up yesterday, and we're continuing to work here today. We'll be here until mid-August. There's going to be a lot of digging happening, and a lot of excavation, a lot of jacketing and flipping the jackets and re-jacketing and taking the fossils back to camp. It's going to be a lot of work, for sure. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. But yeah. Made in the shade. There you go, Darky on TV. Yes, indeed. Yeah. This is well, Don is king of the shade tarps, and at some point we'll ask him his philosophy on shade tarps like this, because nobody puts together shade tarps like Don DeBlue. Yeah, he's given talks about that at the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology meeting, and at other conferences. He is like a world authority on good shade tarps. So we'll get his opinion on that later. But yeah. Oh, and thank you, Claire Burr. Appreciate that, Claire. If anybody would like to maybe help contribute to our food budget. Dawn's Venmo is right there, so any donations made to that will go directly toward feeding the crew. So we'd really appreciate that if anybody's got a few bucks to spare. Yeah. Follow up to King of the Hill. There you go, Thalo. Yeah. But yeah, and Grammar Nerd says, thoughts on geology in relation to dinosaurs. It's offered as a course at a university I might switch to. Geology is maybe the most important thing that you can study if you want to get into fossil science. Paleontology itself is kind of a weird amalgam of biology and geology. I'm a little bit more on the biological side of things, but many of the best paleontologists I know started off as geologists, or started off in geology, and geology is extraordinarily important to fossil science. So like here, the only reason that we're working here at this site right now is because this valley was basically discovered by a geologist here in Utah, and he reported that there were fossils that had come out of here, and he reported, on the age of the fossils and everything else. And then about 20 years ago, something like that, Don and Jim started working out here. And anyway, you can't understand really anything about the fossils unless you understand the geology, unless you understand the rocks in which they come from. It helps you understand, what this ancient environment would have been like. It makes sense of everything. Geology provides the context that we need for understanding the history of life on Earth. Without geology, we wouldn't know anything. So, it's extremely important. Yes. But yeah. And Dogi Dogi says, could you miss things using the shade, or does it make spotting things easier? If you have good shade tarps like this, that are a nice neutral color, it doesn't really mess up the light very much, and you can actually find things a lot more easily than you could if you were baking under the hot sun, Shade tarps like this, they might take a little while to set up, they might be a little bit of work like that, but at the end of the day, they make they make everything so much more efficient. Because you might drink only half as much water as you might have to drink if you were in direct sun all day. Maybe you only get half as tired as you would be, Shade types like this are incredibly important for working efficiently in the field. They make this possible, really, Somebody do the weather command for Moab, Utah. Let's see what temperature it is right now. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, and Grammar Nerd, take that geology course, absolutely. Once you start to see things from a geological perspective, it's like that could be life-changing for a lot of people. It's great, so take that course, yeah. And 1/4 of the ice stream, there you go, Jody Fish, yeah. Yeah. And 32 degrees Celsius. That's actually, it doesn't feel that hot right now, but we do have a nice breeze going. Yeah, it will definitely get hotter this summer, so stay tuned for that, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Let me get some water while we're talking about the heat and everything. And then I'll check on how the encoder is doing, because it also... where are we? Come on. Load, please. It's still not charging. That's not a good sign. Anyway. And Adam, it's great to be out in the field, and it's great to stream to you from the field. Welcome. Let me know if you've got any questions. Yeah. And Corpse Smoothie says, my daughter won't stop asking how many dinosaurs you've dug up. You mean so far this summer? 0. We're just starting our work out here. But over the course of my career, I've dug up... I don't know how many individual dinosaurs. Probably close to 100? I don't know. I've dug up a lot of different dinosaurs in the past. I've been digging dinosaurs since 2011. So, yeah, if that was only 10 dinosaurs a year, that would be over 100. Some years it's definitely been more than 10, though. So, yeah. But yeah. And this is true, Claire. Thank you. Yeah. Anyway, good stuff. Let me get some water. That's important out here, as you can imagine. But any other questions are more than welcome, so don't hesitate. Yeah, anyway. Yeah. Oh, and the encoder, it's not quite like a mobile router, Clairebird, because I have a router over there. The encoder, what it does is it takes the audio and video from the camera, and then it puts it into a format that can be streamed online. So that's this thing right here, and unfortunately, this red light blinking tells me that it's not charging despite being plugged in. So we're just running off the internal battery on it, so it's malfunctioning right now. And that might cut our stream short today, just so you know. So yeah. And Jody Fish, no, that pallet is all dug up. So it's kind of like, basically it's OBS, Clairebird, that's what it is. This is like a physical OBS right here, the broadcasting software. That's all contained within this. And I've had so many problems with these devices in the past, so I'm not entirely shocked that it's giving me trouble right now. Yeah. But yeah. And no, Bliss9, it's definitely plugged in. They wouldn't be blinking if the other side weren't plugged in. But yeah. Chilantosaurus opinion on Dino Nuggies. I don't know what that is, Chilantosaurus. What? Yeah. Amelia Bedelia, thank you for being here. Appreciate that. Yeah. And I have already done that corpse smoothie. Yep. This is like a hardware issue. Hardware or software issue. I've already tried troubleshooting this for about 20 minutes beforehand. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. And welcome, Art Hoppet. Good to have you here. Yeah. And 5280 Andy. No, it's definitely getting juice. Okay, here. Can I ask everybody to please try to stop troubleshooting right now? Because you could be asking questions about dinosaurs instead. But you're not going to fix this. I think it's like a manufacturer's, error or something like that, or like the device is just. Anyway, please don't try and backseat that, okay? I've already troubleshooted as much as I possibly can. Yeah. There's a chance that this thing is just dying and this will be the last stream of the summer. Like, I don't know. But there's nothing I can do about that right now, okay? Anyway, yeah. And let's see here. Rizadega, what was your dinosaur question? Do I need to scroll up and find that? Yeah. About Lane. I don't know what Lane is, Rizadega. Is that like a nickname for a particular dinosaur specimen? Got any color data off him or just proof he had quills? Is this the Psittacosaurus? I don't know. I'm suspicious of that Psittacosaurus specimen for a number of different reasons. If this is the one that's in Germany that was stolen from China, then yeah. Anyway, we can talk about that another time. But yeah, not great. But yeah. Oh, a mummified Triceratops. No, I don't think ceratopsians had quills at all. I think that's... Yeah. Was this the one at the Houston Museum where they prepped all of the skin off of it? If it was, they really mishandled that specimen. But yeah. Anyway. Yeah. How's the current dig site progressing? Well, let me show you again. Yeah. Oh, and bee sheds? I'm trying to read that, but the color of the text is the same color as the background. Yeah, how do we tell bone from rock? I'll show you later when we actually have some bone to show off. Right now, we're still trying to get down to the bone layer itself. Yeah. Oh, so here Fisher's actually working on digging into the rock itself. Hopefully getting down toward the bone layer.
Yeah, we're probably about a few inches above it.
Yeah, but no bone yet. The bone at this site is actually really kind of tricky. It's not... The color is often very, very similar to the surrounding matrix. The matrix is the other rock around it. And the texture is often not much of a help. This is a complicated site like that. But when we find some bone, I'll make sure I show that off to everybody. Yeah. But yeah. Oh, and there's Ethan there.
Balls and bucks.
Nice. Yeah, we got toggle balls there. And those are help hold the tarp to the frame right here. Yeah. So yeah, viewer was asking you how your drive to Ohio was.
Very long, but we listened to some great history podcasts, and
oh, nice.
I learned a lot about World War I.
Very cool.
On that drive. But it was I had went out with my brother and Quinn, so we got to switch off driving.
Nice.
Which made it much less of a torturous thing than it otherwise would have
I can imagine. Shoot, how long did that take you? How many days?
It took 2 days. It's
2 days.
A 25-hour drive.
Oh man, yeah.
The first year, my brother drove 25 hours straight without taking a break other than for gas.
And to go to the bathroom, presumably.
We brought we brought some of these. No, we stopped for bathrooms, yeah.
Yeah.
Bathrooms and food and such. I'm glad we did it the Safeway this year.
Yeah.
Much more enjoyable.
Definitely.
No need to torture ourselves.
Yeah.
Then when he moved to Denver, we didn't.
Tommy Plotticus wants to know what's the name of this formation. It is the Cedar Mountain Formation. So this is the very, very beginning of the Cretaceous period here in Utah.
Oh yeah, we've got.
And we actually have a couple of dinosaurs that are from this same hole in the ground. Somebody can look up Mirasaurus, M-I-E-R-asaurus, M-I-E-R-A-S-A-U-R-U-S, Mirasaurus. It's a sauropod dinosaur, came from, I think, right over there, basically where the wash is right now. Yeah, I think it was from right about here. That's a sauropod dinosaur, big long-necked plant-eating dinosaur. There you go, Jody Fish, yep. Yeah. Thank you, Lenina, for posting that link there, yeah. There's another dinosaur called Yurgavuchia. Starts with a Y, Yurgavuchia. And that is from... it's right over here somewhere, too. But last summer, we were digging up some iguanodontians in here. A dinosaur maybe pretty similar to Iguana colossus. And we're going to be finding more of that material here this year. And if we're very lucky, we'll find more of this mysterious meat-eating dinosaur. It might be a Carcharodontosaur or something like that. We know that those dinosaurs were here at this time because we found their teeth. And just last summer, we had... well, Ethan, you want to tell us about that skull bone of the Carcharodontosaur?
Sure, yeah. We found a quadrate, which is the bone in the back of the skull that attaches the lower jaws to the main body of the skull. Mm-hmm. And so we found a pubis bone, which is a big pelvic bone of a beaked iguanodont dinosaur, right about here. And then I took it back to the lab and was preparing it, and on the other side of this big pubis, which is like a big, long, flat pelvic bone, right? I saw this black mass, and the bone was like a millimeter thin, and I was like, what the heck? This is the weirdest pubis I've ever seen. And eventually, it didn't hit me until the entire thing was exposed, and I was like, that's a theropod skull bone. Predatory dinosaur skull bone.
Very cool.
Big quadrate. So
that's the first skeletal element, first non-tooth element
so.
from that animal from here, right?
Certainly the first cranial element.
Yeah, okay.
Of a predatory dinosaur from here, which is
very cool.
Really exciting.
So if we find more of it, that's going to be a new species.
I have a suspicion that it's more this way,
okay,
as opposed to where we're going.
Uh-huh.
We'll see.
Hopefully we can move in this direction too. We've got what?
Eventually, we have
2.5 weeks here.
2.5 years here, yeah. A lot of time.
Yeah. But yeah. Do you know where did Mirasaurus come from? In
I think it basically came all from all over. So this pit goes all the way over to there. I think it was kind of scattered all across.
Oh really? Okay.
In this upper, it was before my time, but
okay.
I think in this upper level that I'm standing on, roughly. And most of our iguanodonts are from lower down.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And as everyone should know, things that are lower down in section, older. Buried deeper, are of course older. So. Yeah, we don't know how much time is represented here in this quarry, or... Yeah, because it's it's sometimes really difficult to get exact dates on these things if you don't have like an ash layer or something like that. But anyway, yeah. So there's a decent chance that the iguanodonts that we're digging up here might be a new species or a new genus. It's hard to say if they're the same, if they're coeval with Iguana colossus, and we don't have a lot of overlapping material. Like, what do we actually have from Iguana colossus? Do you remember?
It's a maxilla, which is
the
upper jaw.
Upper jawbone, yeah.
Squamosal, which is behind the eye.
Mm-hmm.
A syringular, which is from the jaw. And then a bunch of miscellaneous bones from the rest of the body. So bits of limb, bits of vertebrae, ribs and stuff.
So in order to be able to tell if this dinosaur is the same one as Iguana colossus, we got to find some overlapping material.
So we need a squamosal and a syringular.
Yeah.
Because if those are the bones that have the unique features, we can't tell if they're the same animal unless we have the exact same bones to compare.
Right. So cross your fingers we can find some of those this year. Because I don't think we found any of those so far, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Anyway, that's why we're here, you know? But
yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, we've got a bunch of new people here. Let me go over here and do a little station break just to kind of orient everybody. If you're here for the very first time, then welcome to Paleontologizing. It's great to have you here. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm working here with a crew of paleontologists and volunteers out in eastern Utah. We're working in the earliest Cretaceous Cedar Mountain Formation, digging up what very well could be some new dinosaurs. We just got here yesterday, so we're still reopening the quarry, trying to get down to the bone layer. So things are just kind of starting off here. Yeah. And MK says, do you do field work only in the summer and lab work other times, or a mix? Yeah, pretty much, yeah, because that's the thing. Out here in Utah, unless it's the summer, this is all covered by snow. Yeah, you should see this area in the winter. I never have, but I've been told it's all covered by snow. That's true for most of the western U.S., honestly. One of the regions of the world most prolific in its dinosaur fossils is also an area that you can only really work in during certain months of the year, unfortunately when it's really, really hot out. So today it's in the 90s Fahrenheit, which is what? It's probably like 37 degrees Celsius, something like that. And today's actually relatively cool compared to some of the other days we're going to get. It'll easily get above 40 Celsius here, like 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah. So yeah, when I'm not digging here, I'm back home in the San Francisco Bay Area, working in my office, trying to get papers published and do illustrations, and also stream 5 days a week from my office. So yeah. Anyway, welcome Subsonic Flight, good to have you here. And yikes, that's hot. You get used to it after a while, ZX. You get used to it, you know? At a certain point, it's just like, I don't know, it's like being in the womb again, you know? It's like your interior body temperature is the same as the ambient temperature in the air. And, you know, you just kind of get used to it. As long as you drink enough water. Yeah. But, anyway. And SB says, is there a reason why you couldn't just plop a big tent on the site and work all year round? Funding? Funding. Yeah. We have, I guess, a few $100s for food here, and that's basically our budget. Yeah. Ethan and Don and Jim, they're getting paid out here. I'm getting paid, I guess, through Twitch. Through these live streams. But no, I'm volunteering here. I don't get paid to do this. So we've got a few $100, I guess, for fuel and for food, and that's it. Yeah. It's kind of ridiculous, you know. Dinosaurs are big business for Hollywood, for video games, for toy manufacturers, for everything else. But the people who dig up the dinosaurs, we don't see any of that money. Yeah. Anyway. But you know, Hollywood executives don't get to go out and dig up dinosaurs. And we pity them for it. It is kind of a dream job, and I'm incredibly grateful to be able to do this. You know. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. And Claire Burr says it's the most tragic of shames that big dinosaur movies can't fund big dinosaur digs. Agreed, Claire Burr. Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. That science never gets paid good? You're right, Wheelie Man. You are right. Yeah. Anyway. And SB says, why dig up dinos when you can visit them in D.C.? At the Smithsonian? Yeah, I don't know. They've got a decent museum there. I haven't been there since they renovated it. But yeah. Anywho. And Jim, yeah, exactly. Speaking of which, I should go drink some more water, because I'm here yammering on, and I feel my mouth drying out, so I'm gonna go get some water. But yeah. Should join the writer's strike, honored to it. Well, I'm with them in spirit, you know? Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, anywho. And you dig them up and ordered it to add to the collections of museums. This is true, Jody Fish. This is true. Yeah. So, got any other questions, anybody? Somebody was wondering, how did this quarry get established? Well, when I say quarry, this is a fossil quarry. Oh! Well, the wind,
That's why we typically have...
Yowza.
Catch that? Nice.
There we go. Never a dull moment. All right. Do we have a bungee cord or something we could, or even just some toggle balls?
I brought a bunch.
We could link these together?
I brought a toggle
Or a little piece of toggle ball or...
All right.
Yo, D. Toggle me up.
I got one hand right now.
For sure, yeah.
There we go.
Science.
We're scientists.
For like 2 months, there were so many stories. It took like 10 years.
I totally forgot all about them until you mentioned it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's pretty good for now. So yeah, you know, anything could happen out here. I get some water. Probably fill this back up. Baylor says some of us here were thinking it was snakes you'd have to watch out for. I have not seen a snake in all my time here in this part of Utah. Yeah. I don't know. There's the things that are actually dangerous out here are lightning, because we get a lot of thunderstorms here. And anytime you're dealing with, vehicles, it's always the danger of like car accidents and stuff. Got to watch out for that. Drive very safely. Those are the major two: lightning and vehicle stuff. And heat exhaustion you got to watch out for. Speaking of which, let's fill her up and get some more water to avoid heat exhaustion. There we go. Trying to do this one-handed. Haha. Like a pro. And yes, this is water, not gasoline, not diesel. There we go. Again, quality content here. Almost full. That's good enough. Put under the tarp so the water doesn't boil off. Yeah. There we go. All right, yeah. Let's see. And water filling is the best time. Thanks, Risa Dago. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, we got a fair number of people watching. This, again, is such a privilege to be able to trip on this hill. Uneven terrain. Now, to be able to share this with you, I don't know, in our modern internet age, there's so much misinformation, there's so much suspicion of science, there's so much just nonsense online, flat earth stuff, and we actually have people who claim to not believe in dinosaurs. I think they're mostly kidding, but still, it's like the fact that you could almost believe that there really are people like that shows that, you know, there's a lot of anti-science floating around nowadays. So I think it's really important to be able to share actual science with regular folks and to do it in a way that's approachable, you know? That's what I'm trying to do here. I think that's important. I hope you do too. And I'm glad you're here. Let me know if you've got any questions, you know? Steely Dan says this is one of those special corners of the internet that's actually good. I appreciate that, Steely Dan. Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, Weird Adult says Wikipedia has approximate paleo coordinates for Cedar Mountain Formation, which are near present-day Nantucket. Interesting. It's further north back then? I've got a paleo map that I can show you, but maybe we'll do that another time. Anyway, yeah, just to try and orient you a little bit. You know, we're looking out at this landscape right now, and we've got all these beautiful rocks up here, a few little pine junipers and scrub brush and sage and stuff like that. But this area would have looked very, very different 140 million years ago, when these dinosaurs were alive. This would have been a big old floodplain, not really near any ocean or anything like this. This would have been like in the North American interior. The big seaway hadn't yet opened up in the middle of the continent. This was all dry land out here, except that there were rivers and lakes and floodplains and swamps. And yeah. Oh, here comes some wind. It's straining the tarps a bit. I think they're gonna hold though. I think we're good. Yeah. Yeah. Again, we just got here yesterday and just started setting up the tarps yesterday. So, we don't have everything 100% locked down just yet. Yeah. But yeah. And Morimoto says, how do you know to dig in this spot? Because that's where the dinosaurs are. No, it's actually pretty simple. Somebody bring up the prospecting command. Like, how do we know where to dig? Well, you go out and you prospect. You look for bits of fossil bone on the surface, and then you dig in, and you see if there's more there. In this case, there were a lot more in there. There's two new species of dinosaur, two new genera of dinosaur that basically came out of this hole right here. And we've got probably another one. And, yeah, well, potentially two more. We're going to see how much more material we can find this year and see if we can actually potentially name it. But yeah. And very funny stink. How does the bone get to the surface, says Wheelie Man? Well, you got to go to an area where you've got a lot of erosion. So look off at the skyline right now, and you'll see all that exposed rock up there. So, all the time, this rock is being eroded away. There's wind, and there's rain, and there's ice and snow during the winter, and that breaks down some of that rock. And so you just have stuff that was previously buried, you know, it starts to come to the surface. As the rock gets eaten away by erosion, stuff that was buried inside is suddenly on the surface. This is how we find dinosaur fossils. It's not like we just go and dig a random pit somewhere. We look for stuff on the surface. And so in this case, well, I could have Don tell the story later, maybe, because he was actually here for that. I was not. But yeah, there were a group of paleontologists here, and they were driving on a little dirt road through this area, And then they stopped for a little while and somebody found some fragments of bone. And then somebody found some more fragments of bone and more. And it turns out this whole valley floor is just littered with bits of dinosaur bone. It's not the easiest to find, but if you know what you're looking for, you can find it. And this particular spot, there was a whole lot. So they dug in and established a quarry here. So there are a lot of dinosaurs just underneath us right now. There are dinosaurs underneath my boots right now, probably. But we know for sure that they are coming out right there, so that's where we're digging. Yeah. But yeah, and Gimpleg, I've not really had much time to follow the news, paleontology news lately. We only have the internet for like a few hours every day here, because normally I have the Starlink turned off. Yeah, I don't know. We're out here busy making discoveries. Yeah. And Stink says, hey Danny, is it ethical and okay to take home surface find dinosaur fragments? It depends where you are, Stink. On public land, no, that is illegal and I would argue unethical in a lot of cases. There have been important fossil sites where tourists come through and they just pick up a little piece of dinosaur bone and they go, oh, that's cool. Put that into my pocket and I'll take it home. And then you get 10 people doing that, or 100 or 1,000, and suddenly there's no more bone on the surface. And that's how we as paleontologists find dinosaurs in the first place, is you look for bone on the surface. If that all gets hoovered up, then you're not going to find anything in there, Especially if it's in an area where the erosion is kind of slow. So there have been places where, all the fossils get scooped up, and then you just might have to wait 100 years until more things start to erode out. So there have definitely been sites that have been completely ruined by what we call vandalism like that. Yeah. There was actually a national monument that had to be closed. The only national monument that's ever had to be decommissioned was, I think, Fossil Cycad National Monument in South Dakota, I think? South Dakota? Somebody can look it up. But yeah, it had to be closed because souvenir hunters just took all the fossil cycads. And there was just nothing there anymore, so they closed it. Really sad story. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and Melenderb, great question. What do you do if you're somewhere like this as a random passerby and you find a fossil? Who could you contact about the find? Contact your local museum or contact your state's geological survey. We are actually working with the Utah Geological Survey here. That's where Don and Ethan and Jim work. And so if somebody finds an important dinosaur fossil in the state of Utah, these guys get a call. And there have been some really, really important discoveries made because just regular people walking through happen to find something really cool. And they asked around until they found the contact number for these guys, and the rest is history. So yeah. Great question. No, that was in South Dakota. Thank you, Claire Burr. Yeah. Yeah. And Hokum, very funny. I'm looking forward to reading your paper about this, Hokum. Very appropriate name. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Gimpleg had the same thought. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Let's go back over here and... Oh, let me grab my sunglasses before I forget them. I set them down on this rock earlier before I started the stream. Put those up here. And why don't I show you some of the little printouts that I have laminated. Some visual aids that I brought out here especially for these streams. And our router has fallen over from the wind. Yowza. Well, we'll put it here for now. There we go. Get some of these. There we are. There we go. This is a particularly helpful one. So this is actually put together by, I think, Jim and Don and some other people from the Utah Geological Survey and the Utah Friends of Paleontology. But right here, we are working in the Cedar Mountain Formation. Dinosaurs, first of all, right about there. First dinos. About 230, 235 million years ago, something like that, back in the Triassic period. And then, about halfway through the age of dinosaurs, the Cretaceous period starts, and the Cedar Mountain Formation right here is where we're digging. We're at the very bottom of the Cedar Mountain, the lower yellow cat member right here. So dinosaurs like Gemini raptor, Yurgavuchia, Mierosaurus, and Iguanocolossus and Falcarius have all been found in the lower yellow cat member. So that's these rock layers right here. And a couple of these dinosaurs, Mierosaurus right there, and Yurgavuchia, actually came from right here, like 30 feet away, right over there. Which is pretty cool. So anyway, about 140 million years old, this particular quarry right here. And there we go. This is what North America would have looked like around this time. Or we're actually a little bit older than this. But there you go. Utah is right here. And yeah, this would have been pretty far inland at the time. Again, when we were in Wyoming, we were digging in more recent rocks when you had that seaway that came in through the middle of North America. But this is what it looked like about 130 million years ago. So this is actually a little bit younger than these rocks here, but I couldn't find a paleo map that was from that exact time. Anyway, these are wonderful paleo maps from Colorado Plateau Geosystems. Ron Blakey is the scientist who's put these together, and it's really cool to think about just the immense amount of work and, you know, all the person hours that went into creating this. How many hundreds of different researchers have all contributed little bits of knowledge to be able to make a map like this. That's pretty cool to think about. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Oops. And the small 6'9" says, "Hi, how lucky are you to find bones still arranged as they would be in a skeleton?" You would have to be pretty lucky. That doesn't often happen. Most of the dinosaur fossils that we find are what we call disarticulated. They're no longer in life position. Yeah. So none of the dinosaur fossils that we dug up last summer were in articulation. They were all disarticulated. But no, a few of them, like Mierosaurus, some of those actually were articulated. That dinosaur seems to have died after getting mired here. So the legs basically got stuck in the mud, and the legs are still together. The feet just kind of going straight down into the mud. And yeah, that's pretty cool. So that also gives us a clue that this is probably kind of a swampy area. May have been periodically dry during certain times of the year, but it was wet enough to make a big old mud pit that dinosaur got stuck in. And it died here 140 million years ago, and now it kind of gets a second lease on life after being dug up by this crew of paleontologists and re-described and illustrated, and yeah, it's almost like it lives again, you know? It's cool stuff. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. And yeah. Ocean-based creature, corpse smoothie. I mean, that is a big part of what we call biostratigraphy. So, like, looking at the different kinds of fossils from different times on the rock, we can basically, you know, I'm grossly oversimplifying here, but yeah, you can kind of arrange them into a timeline and figure out what kind of critters were living in which environments at what time, and then you can compare those across different sites and sort of make a map that way. Yeah, that's a lot of what Ron Blakey does, as I understand it. Yeah. But yeah, and Phil's Myth Music. Hey, welcome. It's good to have you here. I'm happy you're enjoying some tea right now. I hope you are much cooler than I am at present. It's probably approaching 38, 39 degrees Celsius here. Something like that. Maybe I'll go get the little temperature gauge out of my backpack at some point. But yeah, And Dr. Irrefutable says, how far apart in time is this place from the last dig site you were at? When I was up in Wyoming with Ethan and the crew, we were digging in, that would have been like the end of the Campanian, or, yeah, so, what did we say? Roughly, I'm completely blanking right now. I need some more water. But I think that was about 73 million years old. So these rocks are about 140 million years old. So yeah, it's like 67 million years older are these rocks here. That makes sense. But yeah. And Lego Tegu, hey, what a great name. Tegus are pretty neat lizards. This is so cool, thanks. You've got a cool name. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. And Arverno, how are you doing? I'm sure it's not a stupid question. Were there dinosaurs that lived exclusively underwater? No, there were not any. That's not a stupid question. That's actually an excellent question, and I'm glad you asked it. Because that's a big misperception that a lot of people have. You know, if you ever see illustrations of like big four-flippered, you know, creatures living in the ocean, none of those are dinosaurs. There's a number of different groups of what we call marine reptiles that lived at the same time as the dinosaurs. You've got your plesiosaurs with their four flippers, and sometimes they have really long necks and small heads. Sometimes they have very short necks and big heads. You've got plesiosaurs. You've got mosasaurs, which are like, think about like gigantic Komodo dragons with flippers. That's a mosasaur. They're these big aquatic varanid lizards, or big aquatic lizards. You get big sea turtles. Sea turtles are another kind of marine reptile. And there's other various groups. None of those are dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are a specific, what we call a clade, a group of related living things. So dinosaurs all share a common ancestor. They evolved from a single point, and everything that evolved from that ancestor is a dinosaur. And none of those marine reptiles evolved from that ancestor. So none of them are dinosaurs. In fact, let's go take a look. I've got a cladogram printout here. We'll take a look at that. And there were tons of turtles back then, Grilled Pikachu. Yeah. And a lot of dinosaur-bearing formations, turtles are like the most common vertebrate fossils. I don't know if we have any turtle material from this site yet, but there were definitely turtles that lived here. For certain. Yeah. But yeah. Here, let's get out that family tree diagram. That'll do it. Yeah. So what is a dinosaur and what isn't? This is some lovely art here. Various groups of marine reptiles with their flippers. There's a mosasaur, which is a group of lizards related to Komodo dragons and other lizards. Pretty close to snakes, too. There's ichthyosaurs and... what is that, a thalattosaur? I'm not sure. Yeah, lizards. So mosasaurs are a kind of lizard. Turtles are... yeah... plesiosaurs and those critters. Dinosaurs start up here. So everything that evolves from this ancestor is a dinosaur. So if you don't evolve from that ancestor, you are not a dinosaur. But if you do, then you are. There's a magpie up there. These birds are still around, but you can see they trace their ancestry through Dinosauria, down to the ancestor of all the dinosaurs. So birds are dinosaurs, but marine reptiles are not. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Yeah. You glad I printed these out and laminated them? Normally, when I'm streaming back home from my office, I can just pull up an image and show you live. But here, I do not have that luxury, so I gotta get creative. Yeah. Anywho, yeah. And Risa Dega says, what makes turtles such frequent fossil candidates? Bigger population, better place to die, all the above. Yeah. So turtles are kind of like the perfect candidates for fossilization. Because, well, A, they often live in or near water. And most of the fossils that we have need to get buried by sediment, usually waterborne sediment. So like, this might have been the like bottom of a swamp or a lake. It's like a great place to get fossilized. Got to get buried by sediment to become a fossil. Turtles were also pretty common. They had big population sizes. Yeah, you can have a lot of turtles living in one pond, you know? And also, turtles have got a lot of parts that are very distinctive. So turtle shell, you know, when a turtle dies and the shell falls apart, you can have hundreds of pieces that just get scattered all around, and any one of those pieces, you know, is a good candidate for fossilization because it's pretty thick, especially the shell, and it's also readily identifiable too. So there's a number of paleontologists who specialize in fossil turtles, and they can look at just one little fragment of a turtle shell and be able to tell you what family of turtle it came from, maybe even what genus or what species of turtle it is based on a single fragment. It's cool stuff. So yeah, turtles are they're pretty excellent fossil animals. They really are. Yeah. But yeah. And is turtles' presence a good way to look for dinosaurs in the same area? It is, actually, Fluff or Nut. Good question, yeah. If you're finding a lot of turtle material, that means that whatever was going on in that environment, you know, stuff is being preserved. Because you get certain rock layers that are just not what we call fossiliferous. They're not producing a lot of fossils, like, for whatever reason. Maybe the soil was too acidic back then, so any bones just got dissolved, or for whatever other reason, you just don't have bones being preserved as fossils. But if you find a lot of turtle shell fragments, you know that this is like, oh, this is fossil country. This is good stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, good questions. Good questions. And Tiny Small says, okay, so had dinosaur nuggets for lunch? I mean, you did, yeah. That's honestly the funny thing about dinosaur chicken nuggets is they're shaped like Mesozoic dinosaurs, at least vaguely, you know? But they're made from actual dinosaur. So, sounds crazy, but it's true. Yeah. Birds are dinosaurs. But yeah. Dancing Fiber says, where in eastern Utah are you? Does it not show that on the screen? It should, up here in one of these corners, it should say, near Moab, Utah. Does it not say that? It's supposed to. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Dennisine says the text color is bad. 10% opacity. Okay, it's really faint and hard to read. I tried to make it unobtrusive, but it might just be difficult to read. Anyway, I'm near Moab, Utah. Yeah. Yeah. I love Moab? Yeah, great place, isn't it? Yeah. And it's that hard to see, Lordy? Shoot. I should probably change that then. I will have to make a modification and up the opacity on that, I suppose. Yeah. The Italian place in Moab, it's amazing. Adenosine, I'll see if I can. Yeah. I don't know, this time of year Moab is an absolute zoo. It's so crowded. We might make it down there like once before the season is over. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get into the Italian restaurant, though. We'll see. If it's really good, it's probably expensive also. And you know, we've got... Yeah. Looneysaurus says, are birds reptiles? Yeah, they are, 100%. Yeah. That's why I don't really like to use the word reptile very much, because when most people use the word reptile, they're thinking, you know, lizards and crocodilians and turtles and snakes and... Well, snakes are actually a kind of lizard. But anyway, it also includes dinosaurs, which includes birds. So yes, birds are a kind of reptile. But you tell that to regular people and they go, what? That's not what I learned in school. And it's because, honestly, most people aren't really taught proper classification in school. It's a problem, especially here in the US. Yeah. People aren't taught like an evolution-based classification model, you know? A lot of people think that animals are classified just based on some sort of arbitrary list of different traits. That's not how it works. No, we classify living things based on who they're actually related to, via their ancestry, you know? Birds evolved from dinosaurs, which evolved from earlier reptiles. So birds are a kind of reptile as a result of that. Does that make sense? In the same way that humans are mammals, you know? We evolved from earlier mammalian ancestors. Yeah, but... unfortunately, especially here in the US, evolution just doesn't get taught in schools. So people's biology education is woefully incomplete to the point where it's like basically worthless, because they don't get to learn the one unifying principle in all of biology, which is that living things don't stay the same. They change generation to generation. Life changes. It evolves. Yeah. But yeah. Just look at a naked chicken. You could see it. There you go, cooking fat. Yeah. Everything I know is wrong, says Zasma. I mean, yeah, that's why you're here, right? It's not everything you know is wrong. I'm sure you know a lot of very true things. It's just biology education in the U.S. is pretty terrible. Because, I don't know. Well, honestly, it's because creationists have fought so hard to keep evolution out of the curriculum. So, like, the most important thing about biology, that living things change, most people never got to learn that in school. It's really sad, honestly. Yeah. And Murph, hey, thank you for the 13 months of support. I appreciate that more than you know. Thank you. Yeah. A Shizzle Zizzle says, I didn't learn the good stuff until high school, early 2000s. I homeschool my kid who's watching the stream, so I'm excited to teach him all this cool stuff. Well, welcome. It is great to have you here. Holy cow. Let me know if you've got any questions. Yeah. I think maybe the most important thing I could tell you is that science is really, really cool, and there's so much left to be discovered, and I hope you're excited about that, as excited as I am. Yeah, it's such a privilege to be able to, to bring this to you here, and welcome. Yeah. For anybody who's just tuning in, by the way, we've got 356 people, something like that. Yeah. Welcome. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I'm out here in eastern Utah with a Utah Geological Survey crew of paleontologists and volunteers. We're digging up some dinosaurs in the earliest Cretaceous Cedar Mountain Formation. We've got, hopefully, a couple of new species of dinosaur that are going to come out of this hole here in the ground. But we just got started yesterday, and we're just approaching the bone layer, trying to get down to where the bones are actually at. Yeah, we had to do a lot of digging to get back to that. We had to kind of rebury the site to keep it safe over the winter. So yeah, most of the reburying has been unreburied, and we're ready to actually find some bones now, hopefully. Yeah. But yeah. Good stuff. Let's see. Oh, did turtles evolve from anapsids, Gray Fox? I think that group, Anapsida, is now considered defunct. That would be called like a wastebasket group nowadays. Because anapsid means that they don't have any holes in the skull. So turtles, no, we now think that they're closer to archosaurs. So turtles are actually closer to crocodiles than they are to like any other group of living reptiles. Yeah. And not too far from dinosaurs, too. Yeah. So turtles, I think, are now considered Archosauriformes. So they're kind of close to crocodilians. Yeah, and to dinosaurs also. So yeah, I think anapsida is an old term, and we don't really use that anymore. Whoop, uh-oh. We had one of the legs just come out from the tarp there. As the wind picked up. Yeah, but Justin's on it. Nice. Cool. Thanks, Justin. Eventually we'll have some guy lines coming down from that to cinch it down to the ground. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. So windy sounds great, says Stink. Well, I've got a big wind muffler thing, like a wind weasel on the microphone, so hopefully you're not hearing too much of that wind right now, but it is pretty windy. You're getting big gusts. Murph says, any thoughts on the mammal hunting dinosaur that was found? Well, a lot of dinosaurs would have eaten mammals. Mammals during the age of dinosaurs are generally pretty small. Yeah. So that's not altogether surprising. Is this recent? Yeah. But yeah. And have you discovered any mosquitoes perfectly preserved in amber that contain dinosaur blood yet? No, not yet, Corpse Smoothie. Yeah. I don't think we have any amber from this site, nor have I ever found... I found little tiny chunks of amber in the Hell Creek Formation. But I don't think amber is common from the Cedar Mountain Formation, and yeah, no perfectly preserved mosquitoes here yet. I'm not sure that was a mosquito in Jurassic Park. In the prop, it looks more like a crane fly. It's also like huge, it's like this big. I don't think mosquitoes ever got that big, did they? Anyway, somebody can look up how they made that prop in Jurassic Park, but I'm pretty sure that's a crane fly inside of some yellow resin. Anyway, I love the idea of this channel. Brilliant. Good luck on your excavation. Thank you, J6. Appreciate that. Yeah. Grilled Pikachu says, is paleontology so easy that a caveman can do it? Really? Do I look like a caveman, Grilled Pikachu? I guess I probably do. But yeah, apparently. Oh, it was a mayfly. Is that right, Rodan? Okay. But yeah. And no, I've never been to Alaska, Stink. No. Oh, is that regarding mosquito size? No, I have been to Minnesota. People joke there that the state bird is the mosquito. What is Minnesota's state bird, though? It's probably the robin. Like 12 other states. Rosen T says, in China, a fossil was found of what appears to be a small mammal biting into a dinosaur. Interesting. Has this just happened today? I've not been online yet, except to stream. Yeah. Yeah, and Dave Nevius says, how often do you accidentally find fossil arthropods while digging for something else? Not too often. Yeah, I found a lot of what look like insect burrows, but actually finding like insect body fossils, like part of the preserved insect or arthropod, not too frequently. Yeah, I found bits of fossil fish. Yeah, lots of plant material, but I don't know if I've really found many fossil arthropods mixed in with bones of dinosaurs. Yeah, I've not really found many fossil arthropods at all, honestly. It's tricky. Yeah, little buggy guys, it could be hard to preserve them, you know? Yeah. Oh, and the common loon is, of course, that's the state bird of Minnesota. Good for them. They've got a good one. Yeah. Anywho. Mammal attacking the dino. Well, you know, that's I guess that's a man bites dog kind of story. I guess, of course, it's going to be newsworthy. But yeah. And SoQ Film says, my daughter wants to know if you found cactus fossils. No, I don't know if... I'm not sure if there were cactus during the time of the dinosaurs. I think cactus might be a more recent group. I think cactus first evolved... I don't actually know this for sure, but I'm guessing cactus first evolved during the Cenozoic era, after the extinction of all the dinosaurs except for birds. Yeah. But somebody can look that up. What is the fossil history of cactus? How far do they go back? It's a good question. Thanks for asking it. And, yep, Subamf, yep. Arthropod exoskeletons, they're usually made of chitin, right? So they might not preserve in the same places where you would have bones preserved, because you would kind of need different chemistry to preserve chitin versus, like, you know, hydroxyapatite and other stuff that's in bone. Yeah. And Elvix says, how does the dig work? Is there... Oop. Chat's moving too fast. People mainly do digging, people who write grant proposals, etc. I mean, we all share different duties while we're here. Right now, our leader is Don DeBlue, the Assistant State Paleontologist of Utah. So he's our crew chief, he's in charge. Yeah, so we're all working for Don. But yeah, we pretty much share all of the duties in camp. Cooking and cleaning and doing all different kinds of chores, digging, all that stuff. I almost feel like I'm slacking here a little bit streaming right now, but I gotta do this so I can eat, you know? But yeah, Yeah. You know, it's very egalitarian out here in the field for the most part, you know? From each according to their ability, to each according to their need. You know, we all share the burden and share in the triumphs and tribulations and all that good stuff. That's part of what makes field work so rewarding. It's like you get to be a part of a crew of cool people where you're all working toward a common goal and you're all on the same team together. Oh yeah. But yeah, it's probably the most interesting. Thank you, Red and Boz Fight Inc. How did you find this site? We can talk to Don about that, actually. He can tell you the story. But yeah. But yeah, someone found some dinosaur bone fragments when they stopped the vehicles through, like when they were driving through this little valley one time. And yeah, the rest is history. Yeah. And Gimplex says the fossil is incredibly well preserved. It rivals the Velociraptor fossil and will be equally as famous. Well, we'll see about that, Gimpleg. Interesting. Is it from China, perchance? Maybe from Liaoning province? Because they've got a lot of really well preserved fossils there. And cactus was the Eocene, apparently. That makes sense. ZX. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. But yeah, and fortuitous bounce, what's the youngest age for someone to participate in that? It depends where you're at, fortuitous bounce. Different crews will have different rules, different ages for volunteers and that kind of thing. Yeah. Here, let me check on the battery for our encoder right now. It's running a little low, but it's continuing. That's good. It's still not charging, however. That is not good. We're having an equipment malfunction right now, which is irritating. Hopefully we can resolve this, or else it's going to be very difficult to stream. Anyway, yeah. Cooking Fat says, where is that huge bone from the last dig now? It is in a safe location. I'm not going to say exactly where it is, but it's... yeah, it's in a safe place. Under lock and key, where it should be. This username not exist. How are you doing? Hey there to you too. Welcome, welcome. Yeah. Oh, and Corpus Smoothie's got a question. It's a big one for me. Do you believe that fossils promoted the old myth of dragons? And if so, which creatures fossil would fit the closest description of European dragon to promote the myth? I don't actually think that there's much connection there, unfortunately. It's really cool to think about. You know, people in the olden days finding fossils and, you know, trying to explain them and coming up with myths and legends around them. But the thing is, as you're going to find out here in future streams, when you actually find fossils in the ground, they usually don't look like much at all. Like, you really need to study them pretty intensely to be able to figure out what's going on with them. So I think any similarities between, like, dragon myths and dinosaur fossils, it's probably more coincidental, you know? Yeah. Yeah, and I think people are used to seeing illustrations in books of, like, a whole dinosaur skeleton just eroding out of a hillside, and it's all beautiful and articulated, and you can instantly tell what it is. That pretty much never, ever, 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 ever happens in real life. You know, when we find dinosaur fossils here, walking along here, maybe I can find a chunk of bone for you. But, yeah, it'll typically look something like, I'm not sure any bone is actually going to crop up right here. But, yeah, it'll basically look something like this. Go away, fly. You know, like that. You see what I mean? It's pretty rare to actually find a fossil that really looks like anything on the surface. You know? So yeah. There really wasn't like a study of fossils back then, so yeah. Anywho. Scrolling. They just look like weird rocks or bones if you're lucky, says ZX. Yes, you're right. Yeah. And thank you, Cheesemo McSolo. I am doing well. I hope you are too. Yeah. Grilled Pikachu says, have you had encounters with poachers? Yeah. I've had a few over the years. But Don and Jim and other people here in Utah have had quite a few more. Actually, there were some poachers right here in this valley a few years ago. Rebecca Hunt Foster, who's now the park paleontologist at Dinosaur National Monument up north of us here in Utah. She told a story about some fossil poachers who were coming through, just like, RV people or people on quad bikes or whatever. And they were vandalizing some of the sites, stealing fossils and stuff. And she set out some trail cameras to try and catch them in the act. And apparently someone maybe was hiding up there and watched her place the trail cameras, and they stole the cameras. Yeah, it's federal property. So people can get pretty brazen. They stole all the cameras except for one, and unfortunately, she could see the people in the photos, but she wasn't quite able to get the license plate. They were driving a red Dodge truck, apparently, but couldn't get a license plate number. Anyway, yeah. And let's see. Jacquis says, I think the griffin was based off a Protoceratops skeleton. That is an idea. Adrian Mayer was a folklorist who kind of came up with this idea that maybe the legend of the griffin was inspired by the ancient Scythians or ancient Greeks. Somebody going through Mongolia and seeing Protoceratops skeletons. It's a really cool idea, but I don't know. I kind of doubt it. Mark Whitten, Witton, if somebody wants to look it up. He's published about this online. I think he's got some blog posts about the idea. He's a dinosaur, or a vertebrate paleontologist. He mostly works on pterosaurs, but he thinks it's not super plausible. And I can't remember his reasoning, but you can look up that article, and maybe somebody can post it in the chat. But yeah. And let's see. Scrolling. They were driving an off-road Prius. Very funny, Tommy Plotticus. That's my vehicle. Yeah. And there was a new ceratopsian name today as well. Very cool, Gimpleg. Very nice. Furcatoceratops. Interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah. But yeah. Was that the article, Denny? I think that was it. Thank you, Claire Burr, for finding that. I need to go drink some more water. Yeah. Gray Fox says, have you ever heard Sasquatch during the night there? Oh yeah, all the time. He won't shut up. It's pretty annoying. He sounds exactly like, it's kind of like chirp, 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 chirp. Almost sounds like an insect, Yeah. And Soak Film says, thanks for the cactus answer. Of course, thank you for the great question. My daughter wants to know if you find many frog fossils. Not too many. I found a few frog fossils up in Montana, and the Hell Creek Formation and the Judith River Formation. But I tend to find, it seems like salamanders are a lot more common, for whatever reason. I don't think frogs actually become very diverse until during the Age of Mammals. There were frogs that lived alongside the dinosaurs, and some of them got really big. You should look up Beelzebufo. It's the largest frog that ever lived. It's from Madagascar at the end of the Cretaceous period. So it would have lived alongside some dinosaurs. Anyway, for whatever reason, it seems like frogs maybe weren't as common back then as they are today. Salamanders and newts were probably much more common back then. At least I've found a lot more salamander and newt fossils than frog fossils. That's for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And Stats Bloke, how are you doing? Welcome to Paleontologizing. Have you ever spotted a meteorite while prospecting the surface? No. I have not. I might not know what I was looking at if I were prospecting and found a meteorite. I know it would be very heavy because many meteorites are like very iron rich. And it would probably be ferrous, so it would stick to a magnet. But I've never found a meteorite out prospecting in the field. I, however, have found some micrometeorites out in North Dakota. But I specifically went looking for them with a magnet. I just went to the downspouts of some houses. My old crew chief, he has a house he lives in North Dakota. And micrometeorites, I guess, they can collect on the roof of a house over years and years, and eventually they make their way down through the gutter and then the downspout to the ground. So if you just run a magnet through there, sometimes you can pick up micrometeorites. And yeah, these look like little bits of, little black rocks that stick to a magnet. They're really like kind of scrungy looking. Yeah, so I found some before that way, but never in the field. No. Great question. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah. But yeah. Anywho, let's see here. Any other questions do we have got? Let me know. I'm gonna drink some more water. Man, I'm not used to talking so much when I'm out here. Yeah, I'm just blabbing on and on, talking to chat. Better. Yeah. And SB says, speaking of meteorites, NASA is currently training a recovery crew to recover the asteroid sample from their sample mission. They're in Utah. Oh, very cool. Neat. The same state as I am right now. Nice. Yeah. And Corpse Smoothie, that is a great question. I'm glad you asked it about oxygen. I have a special command for that because I get that question a lot. No, oxygen levels were not the reason why dinosaurs got so big. I don't know, dinosaurs got big because they were very good at being big. Lightweight bones, sort of an avian respiratory system. Hatching from eggs also helps with that. A number of other things allowed dinosaurs to become the biggest creatures to ever walk the earth. Oxygen levels fluctuated during the age of the dinosaurs. Sometimes they were a little bit higher, sometimes they were a little bit lower, but for the most part, oxygen levels in the atmosphere, the proportion of oxygen to other gases in the atmosphere is about the same as today. Maybe overall a little bit lower than today, on average. But, yeah. Anyway, I'm not a paleoclimatologist, so I'm not necessarily the best person to answer that question. Definitely not the best person to answer that question. Yeah. And Zasma Yaya, hey, thank you for your enthusiasm. It's great to have you here. Yeah. Anyway, if anybody is new here, let me introduce myself real quick if you've just tuned in. My name's Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I'm out here in eastern Utah. Dinosaurs. There's a crew down there. And they're just, hopefully, approaching the bone layer pretty soon. We'll see if they've got anything. We'll go check in with them in a minute. Yeah. Blake the Snake says, have you ever seen any weird lights in the sky when out in the field? That's still weird? Oh, yeah. Back at the beginning of our season in Wyoming, about a month ago, something like that, there was this really weird train of lights all in a row, just moving pretty quickly across the sky. And you know what they were? They were Starlink satellites. Starlink is the service we're using right now in order to broadcast. That's the only reason that I can broadcast to you from here, is because we're using satellite internet. So yeah. But apart from that, we get lots of shooting stars, lots of satellites. Spotted the International Space Station a bunch of times. But, the thing is, if you know what you're looking for when you're looking up at the sky, usually nothing much surprises you. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, and Hrafnagut says, you probably get this a lot, but what got you into paleontology? Has it always been something you've been interested in, or did it take you a while to find this passion? Took me a little while, maybe like less than a year after I was born, something like that. I don't know. I've always been intensely interested in dinosaurs since the time. This is probably before I could talk. I don't know. I joke that that I decided I wanted to become a dinosaur paleontologist pretty much the same day I realized I couldn't grow up to be a dinosaur. So I've been into this for a very, very long time, and I've been lucky enough to be able to turn it into a career. So yeah, let that be a lesson to anybody watching right now who's very, very passionate about something. Yeah, if you get lucky, and if you work hard too, and if you maintain that passion and, nurture it, grow it like a beautiful, delicate plant, yeah, you could maybe make a living at it, which is what I'm doing right now. So, yeah, don't give up on your dreams. But yeah, the Bertosaurus says, I don't count as a real dinosaur. Bertosaurus, you know there's a dinosaur that's name is very similar to yours, right? Somebody look up Berthosaura, named after somebody named Bertha, and since it's a feminine name, it's Sora instead of Saurus, like Maiasaura, if any of you are familiar with that dinosaur. But yeah, welcome Bertosaurus. Yeah. How old do dinosaurs get, says Steve-O Harry Potter. That's a good question. That's actually a really good question. We're still figuring that out. The only way to really tell how old a dinosaur was when it died is to cut open the bones and then count the growth rings inside, almost like you do with like a tree, looking at the growth rings on a tree stump. So we call this histological sampling. I think the very, very oldest dinosaur that we have, the one that's actually been sampled and had its lines of arrested growth, its growth rings counted, was like 48 years old or something. It seems a lot of dinosaurs lived fast and died young. Yeah, they're... It's interesting because I think a lot of people are surprised by that. They think, oh yeah, dinosaurs, in order to get so big, they must have lived hundreds of years. Any individual dinosaur must have been centuries old in order to get so large. And no, a lot of dinosaurs just grew very, very quickly and then died young. But the odd thing is, we don't have a lot of, like, geriatric dinosaurs. Most of the time when we sample a dinosaur, when you actually count the growth rings after cutting the bones, they don't turn out to be all that old. Yeah. So anyway. And Kiba32B, everybody's talking about this. I've not actually heard about this or read about this yet. I'm sure we'll be talking about it in camp when we, we'll probably look up the paper and everything and read about this new mammal versus dinosaur thing. But yeah. And Kitty Lee says, do you think they died earlier because they were so big? I don't know. That's a good question. I think a lot of animals are not particularly long-lived. Like, I think most animals today wouldn't live to be 48 years old. But if you're a dinosaur, I don't know, and you have to deal with other dinosaurian predators, it might be difficult to actually reach a ripe old age. I don't know. It's a good question. We're just speculating at this point. Yeah. And Sloppy Salamander says, is there actual evidence for the claim made in Prehistoric Planet that sauropods could get to be 100 years old? I don't think we've ever found a sauropod that's even close to that old, so I don't know. Prehistoric Planet didn't get a lot of stuff wrong. Like, it's pretty excellent. Hats off to the crew that made Prehistoric Planet. But I don't know of any evidence for that. Sauropods, living to be 100 or older. Maybe, but I don't know if we have direct evidence for it. But yeah. An interesting Kiba32B. Yeah. Was that other dinosaur a Psittacosaurus, perchance? Yeah, like a small plant-eating dinosaur. Because that would make sense. And Southeast St. Going Well says, do we know how much food a big dinosaur needs to consume to maintain such a growth rate? A lot, especially since those dinosaurs were warm-blooded. Sauropods and theropods We're both what we call endothermic. Like, we think that they produce their own body heat, and so when you do that, you need to eat a ton of food. So, yeah, they would have needed a lot of food to maintain that. Jericho says, look at large whales and how long they live as an indication. I mean, you could for some clues, but dinosaurs are very different from whales in a lot of ways. Whales are mammals. Whales do not lay eggs, so they've got like a different kind of growth and reproductive strategy from dinosaurs. Whales also feed their young with milk. Whales only, they're in the same ecological niche for their entire lives, whereas we think dinosaurs were moving through multiple ecological niches. They're like doing different jobs in their environment at different growth stages. Because they start off very small, having hatched out of a little egg, and then some of them get tremendously large. Even the very largest dinosaurs would have been like, I don't know, less than half a meter long when they first hatched. Like maybe 1.5 feet long. 16 inches or something like that. Even the very largest dinosaurs would have been very small when they first hatched. And some of them grow to be 130, 140 feet long. But yeah, very different from whales in so many different ways. So whales aren't necessarily the best analogy. I don't know. That's my 2 cents. But yeah. And I have a command for the ground penetrating radar thing. Somebody type in !GPR. Yeah, I have a command for that, don't I? There we go. Yeah, because it doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work. Ground penetrating radar would not work. Let me show you. Let's go down to the quarry right now, and we'll check on everybody and see what kind of progress they've made, and see if there's maybe any sign of bone in there right now. Alright, how's it going over here?
Good, I found a little...
Oh, nice! We do have some stuff. Excellent. Yeah, you can see it. Everybody in chat, say hi to Ethan.
It's not very good, but it's a broken tooth.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
Hi, chat. Ciao.
So, that's another iguanodont, maybe?
I'm thinking, yeah. Doesn't look like a theropod or sauropod.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. A little bit of a dinosaur tooth right there, everybody.
It's not very pretty. We'll get better ones soon for everyone to enjoy.
But that's awesome that we've got something this early. Excellent. Yeah, so we're still... Actually, we're getting down to
we're about
the bone layer.
Almost, yeah. We're just barely above it, I think.
Nice. Very nice. So yeah, we keep getting questions about ground penetrating radar.
That's what Fisher is for. He's our ground penetrating radar specialist.
The ground penetrating radar.
Exactly, yeah. Well, the thing is, I mean, if you look at that tooth again that Ethan's got, that is going to be pretty much the same density as the surrounding rock. And so ground penetrating radar or sonic imaging or lasers or whatever.
Dowsing rods,
not going to be effective in locating something like this. You just got to dig it up and use your eyes. Yeah, I know that archaeologists will sometimes use ground penetrating radar or something, but that's because they're working in soil, or working in rock. So it's very different. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, anyway, anybody else got any other questions? Let's see. Let me check on my battery, too, because, shoot, this thing is not charging like it's supposed to. Let's see. It's kind of maintaining like it... Well, no, it is dropping. Shoot. Cross your fingers, everybody, that we don't have, like, a fatal, equipment failure out here. Because the encoder that I use to stream with, basically like our physical OBS here, it's not charging, even though it should be. Even though it is plugged into the battery. Well, it came unplugged there, but still, even when it was plugged in, it's not charging properly like it should be. And I looked this up just beforehand, and oh shoot, we also gotta turn our solar panels around. I've neglected to do that so far today. The sun is now up there. You're facing the wrong direction. Let's do that. What are we at here? 85%. That's still pretty good. But we can charge this up. Sorry for the awkwardness here, but this is a one-man operation. And I gotta do everything myself. There we go. Move this over here. There we are. Get these linked up in series. There we are. And input 59 watts. Yeah, we're doing pretty well. Good. Anyway, that could be a lot worse. If I need to, I can always bring up more solar panels too. But yeah. Oh, and Lenina, thank you for that. The jackery thing. Appreciate that. That's cool. Thank you. Yeah. I need to buy a jackery for hurricane season, Zasma. I don't have one set up right now, but yeah, I don't know. I think they're having a sale right now. Just go ahead and buy it. I'd probably make, what, a couple dollars off the affiliate link? I appreciate you asking, but yeah. Anyway, yeah. And let's see. How much money is that solar setup? This was a few $1,000s here, actually. I would not have been able to afford this if it were not for the generosity of these community members. Here, let's put the solar generator behind. Oh, we'll put it off to the side here. Yeah, I should have brought a giant Lazy Susan out here in order to be able to rotate these as the sun moves around the sky. But yeah, we had a big fundraiser back in May, I believe, April or May, in order to raise money for the panels and for the generator, and here we are. Yeah. And thank you, Sothi. Hey, I really appreciate that, those gift subs. Thank you for your support. It means a lot to me. Yeah. And 990. Be nice for every previous generation to leave the proceedings something to discover. Yeah. Millennial Antarctic Glacier. Sure, yeah. I mean, we found a number of different dinosaurs in Antarctica. Yeah. It's probably going to become increasingly easy, I guess, as Antarctic ice continues to melt. It's kind of a grim thought that it's going to cause flooding all over the world, but we'll have more exposed rock in Antarctica to find dinosaurs in, on the bright side, I suppose. Yeah. Holy cow, Sothi, look at all those gift subs. Thank you. That's brilliant. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. And thank you, Murph, for all those gift subs. Holy cow, I really appreciate the support. Thank you. That is fantastic. The only reason that I can be out here and do this is because of the generosity of this community. Yeah, this is how I make my living, believe it or not. So if I don't stream, I don't eat. And if If people don't support me, I can't do this. So thank you, you know? I think this is important work. I hope you feel the same way. Thank you for showing that that's important to you, supporters. I really appreciate it. I really do. Yeah. But yeah, good stuff. Holy cow. Find it fascinating what you do. Truly, thank you, Mist Evil. I appreciate that. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Paleontology on other planets, fossilized life on Mars. I mean, that'd be cool, you know? But, yeah, no evidence of that yet. Yeah. Thank you for those gift subs, Rizodegu, anonymous gifter. Thank you. Yeah. John the Disciple says, when will paleontology become obsolete? Never. What do you mean? There are more fossils here. Shoot, just in this valley right here. There are enough fossils where we could be digging here for 1,000 years. There's always something left to be discovered. You know, this is just one spot here in Utah. And there are probably 100 sites like this in Utah, if not more, where you could dig for hundreds or thousands of years and still not find everything, you know? As long as there is a human race, you know, as long as we exist as a species, there will still be more fossils left to discover. So, paleontology will never be obsolete, you know? Yeah. Unless somebody were able to develop time travel and just be able to go back into the past and observe things without having to dig up fossils. But I'm not convinced that's ever going to happen. I guess we'll find out. Yeah. Reagan Nation, hey, thank you for the gift subs there. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Excellent. Yeah. Fantastic. This does help keep me streaming. Thank you very, very much. Yeah. Good stuff. Level 6 hype train? Brilliant. That is excellent. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Good stuff. Yeah. Well, it looks like the crew is actually packing up the shade tarps right now. So I'll stay out here for a little while, even if they end up going back. I'll stay out here for a little while, because we've got plenty more questions and everything. Yeah. You would have dug up a time-traveling botanist by now. Who is that? Your username comes up white here, and I can't... Oh, Stats Bloke. There you go. Yeah. This is fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Stink, holy cow, thank you for the gift subs. That is phenomenal. Yeah. Thank you very, very much. Mist says this is the best channel on Twitch for reals. Thank you. Holy cow. Wait until we actually start digging up some dinosaur fossils in here. And then I'll show you something cool, you know? Yeah. Keeper says, how long have you worked in paleontology? I've been digging dinosaurs since 2011, but I've been working in paleontology since about the same time I started high school. So it was a long time ago. I guess I've been in this field for a good while now. Yeah. Yeah. And Corpse Smoothie says, do you believe if we were able to travel back to those periods of time, humans would be able to survive in there? Yeah, I can't see why not, you know? It's not like this was a totally alien world back then or anything. It still would have been breathable air and everything else. People can survive alongside dangerous animals today. So, I don't know. I think because of movies and stuff, people in the general public have a tendency to view dinosaurs as being like, you know, monsters. You know, you just could never survive alongside them. But no, like, yeah, if you were to travel back in time, there's a chance you might get eaten by a big meat-eating dinosaur, but if you stay away from them and... I don't know. Dinosaurs weren't monsters, I guess, is my point. Yeah, animals. We've got animals today.
Ontogeny.
Dinosaurs are animals too. Don't think of them as monsters. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. And I have seen the movie 65. I've seen it, and I've made a parody trailer of it. You can look that up on the YouTube channel. Yeah, I think you might enjoy it. You say that we can live alongside dinosaurs when if I see a spider, I run and scream like a girl, says Bliss9. I mean, maybe not everybody, but... No, but we do live alongside dinosaurs today. Dinosaurs are not completely extinct. They're still around. Birds are the last living dinosaurs. The only living dinosaurs today are birds. We live alongside them pretty well. Actually, yeah. A lot of birds are not doing particularly well, on the brink of extinction. Anyway, yeah. But yeah. You do feed the dinosaurs every day, miss. There you go. And so Utah Raptor is closely related to birds, Dino Wolf, yeah. It's a Maniraptoran theropod. And holy cow, 232 raiders have joined. Mino56, welcome everybody to Paleontologizing. It's so good to have you here, holy cow. Welcome. Crew's just wrapping up over there, taking the shade tarps down, and there's the quarry. So I'm going to stick around here for a little while longer, while everybody else goes back to camp. But, yeah. Well, let me go check in with our crew chief real quick. But welcome everybody to Paleontologizing. If it's your first time here, so glad you could join me. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm out here with the Utah Geological Survey, digging up some dinosaurs. We just got here to the quarry yesterday. We were reopening it from last year, and we've just gotten down to the bone layer again. So it's going to start kicking out dinosaur fossils very soon. We've got one little tooth that just came out today. Yeah. Anyway, Don, I'm going to stick around here for a little while and then I'll walk back to camp.
Okay. Should I put the Hilti in the box?
So, yeah. Anyway, welcome everybody. If you've got any questions, that's what I'm here for. We're basically going to stream until, well, for at least a few more minutes. Or until the encoder runs out of juice. But, yeah. And holy cow, Murph, thank you for those gift subs. That is phenomenal. I really appreciate that. Anyway, Raiders, how was the stream? I hope it was really good. Tell me about it. And, yeah, thank you again. Who was it who raided in? Let me look. That was Mino56. Mino, how was your stream? Tell me all about it. Let me know if you've got any questions. It's great to have you here. I should show you that we are broadcasting live from eastern Utah via satellite right now. There is the satellite dish. There's the solar panels that are powering it. There's the router. And, yeah, would not be able to do this if it were not for that. So, yeah. What could we find at this site? We're going to find more iguanodontian fossils. Iguanodon, you might be familiar with it. It's a big, beaky, plant-eating dinosaur. So we've got an earlier iguanodontian here, member of the same family. It's not been named yet. It may or may not be the same thing as another dinosaur called Iguana colossus that's been named from this formation. From not too far away from here, actually. This might be Iguana colossus that we're digging up here, or it might be a new iguanodont. We don't know yet because we haven't found any overlapping pieces. So none of the bones that we found here are the same bones that we have from Iguana colossus, so we can't really compare them yet. So we're hoping to find some of the same bones. We've got some overlap and we can compare them this year. Yeah. But yeah. And level 9 hype train, that is phenomenal. Thank you. Yeah. Good stuff. And ground level news, yes, live dinosaur dig, yes indeed. The crew is actually just wrapping up right now, but I'm sticking around for a little while because we just got a big old raid and we're in the middle of a hype train, it seems. So I'll stick around for a little bit. Let me check on our battery level though. Unfortunately, my mobile encoder, the Live View Solo here, is not charging like it's supposed to. So eventually, this is just going to start conking out. And yeah, we're having an equipment malfunction. Hopefully, it resolves itself sometime soon, because I think it's a hardware issue. Anyway, yeah. How many hours a day do we stay at the site? So we usually come out here around 8 a.m. and work until about 5. So it's just after 5 right now. So yeah, be 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, something like that. but we're almost all volunteers here, so if somebody gets really tired or really hungry or something like that, or they just don't feel like working, they don't have to. But it's such a privilege to be able to work at a site like this that everybody wants to work the whole day, you know? Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah. Let's see. For Fumi says, is it true that dinosaurs had mutual ground where they didn't fight, like a water source or something like that? I don't know. That's really difficult to tell from fossils. But yeah, I don't know. On the African Serengeti today, there are watering holes where predator and prey both come to drink side by side. So yeah, it's perfectly plausible to think that that would be the case. You know, the age of dinosaurs is really, really long.
Hey, Danny.
Yeah.
Do you want us to help you load?
I'm just gonna leave that here for now. I'll walk some of it back to camp, and I'll leave some of it here.
Take the truck back and get it.
Okay. Oh, you want me to drive it back?
No, I'm saying when we go back, you're welcome to take
Oh, okay, yeah. Thanks, Ethan.
See you in a bit.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Shoot. The age of dinosaurs was a long time. You know? Like 175 million years. So I'm sure at some point there would have been a situation in which predator and prey could drink side by side with each other without, you know, much strife or fighting. Sure. Yeah. We'll say yes. But it's difficult to find evidence of that, you know? Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Are we getting enough salt with all that water? Yes, Sophie. Please don't worry about that. I've been digging dinosaurs since 2011. I'm not going to keel over from heat stroke or anything. I promise you. Yeah. Don't worry about me. Yeah. And Cold Train says, how do normies find a fossil bed or dig site to dig in free time or a hobby? I have a command for that. Somebody type in !participate. There are a number of different crews and, organizations that do bring in volunteers from all different walks of life. But one of the best ones that I know of, you can actually, pay to go dig at a site in Hanksville, Utah, with the Burpee Museum crew. We actually just visited their quarry earlier in the summer, and that was pretty cool. So, shout out to them. But yeah. Anywho. Let's see. Yeah, anywho. Any other questions? Let me know. I'm going to drink some more water. Put that right over here by our solar panels. And then I got to keep an eye on the encoder battery also. Because, when that goes, the stream is over. So there's nothing I can do about that. But yeah. Yeah. Got an article about... Wait, what? Did I not put a link to the Burpee Museum page on there, Claire? But yeah. Anyway, here's our quarry with the shade tarps taken off. There's a bunch of my gear down there still. But yeah. Can just kind of show you some of our different tools that we use now that everybody's out of there and I'm not all up in their grill. But we've got we could see some of the extraordinarily expensive specialized equipment that paleontologists use. Like this device. A shovel. Various picks. A wheelbarrow. Here's the tarps folded up. This actually is a pretty cool piece of equipment. The jackhammer goes in there. And we used some of that. Well, we used that for removing some of this rock up top to get down to the bone layer. It's a lot of work using a jackhammer, and you need a generator for it. And the generator is over there too. Yeah. Sometimes a generator or a jackhammer is actually more trouble than it's worth. But today it was pretty useful. Yeah, this device actually is one that I was not familiar with until I joined this crew last year. This is called a McCloud. McCloud. Sounds like a Scottish name. But, yeah, apparently it's like a firefighting and trail building kind of tool. I'd never used this until this last summer. But, yeah, it could be really useful for just kind of scraping loose rock and debris out of the way. Or for tamping down stuff. Yeah, so those are most of the big tools that we have. We've got little tools like rock hammers, screwdrivers, ice picks, and oyster knives and things like that for digging through rock. But for the most part, it's pretty low-tech stuff. Because this is slow-going work, you know? It takes a lot of patience. Yeah. Anyway. And these are not litter boxes, these are just little buckets to put debris in, and also we use these for mixing plaster also. You can see some of the plaster of Paris that's crusted onto the side of this. This is what we call a plaster bucket. And these are feed scoops, and we use these for putting bits of rock into as we're digging around near bone. So you basically, well, I'll show you how this works when we're actually digging. But you do that so you don't end up accidentally throwing away any important bits of rock with bone stuck to them. You make sure that, like, oh, there we go. You make sure that basically you're checking all of your pieces before you throw them over your shoulder. So you put piece by piece into that, and then when you're sure there's no bone in there, then you chuck it. So it's just like another layer of safety there. Yeah. Anyway. And hi, this read came in from Japan. What is the dino scene there, if you know? The dinosaur scene? Well, we're working in the Cedar Mountain Formation. This is in eastern Utah, near the town of Moab. And we're going to be digging up probably some more iguanodontian bones. We had a bunch of bones from an iguanodontian that came out last summer. And let me show you what that might look like. I've got a skeletal diagram over here that I laminated because I knew it would be useful for streams such as this. So let's get that out. I'll show you roughly the kind of dinosaur we're going to be digging up. There we go. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So this is Iguanodon, the most famous of the iguanodontians. This would be a little bit bigger than our dinosaur here, for sure. Our dinosaur might be a third smaller than this, but still a big critter. So big beaky plant-eating dinosaur. This is what we call a skeletal diagram. And I wanted to laminate this so I could show you when we find different bones, I can point to them on the skeleton. So femur, tibia, fibula, hindfoot, blah, blah, blah. This is going to be a pretty useful diagram, I think, especially later on in the summer. So yeah. And this dinosaur may or may not be the same genus as Iguanacolossus. Iguanacolossus is also from the Cedar Mountain Formation, but we might actually be older here. We might be a little bit below the horizon where Iguanacolossus was found. And so this could turn out to be a totally new kind of iguanodontian. Probably a close relative of Iguanacolossus, but it might be a new genus or a new species. So we just need to find more material before we can actually figure that out. Right now we don't have any overlapping pieces with Iguanacolossus, so we can't really compare them properly. So hopefully this year we'll find some of the same bones that we have from Iguanacolossus and be able to compare them properly. So yeah. And they are pretty closely related to duck-billed dinosaurs. Duck-billed dinosaurs evolved from earlier iguanodontians, so yes. Sloppy Salamander says, do you think you could comfortably sit on the back of an iguanodon like a horse? Or do you think that, I was just going to say, those tall neural spines, yeah. A horse has got a pretty round, flat back compared to a dinosaur like Iguanodon. They would have a much more pointy back. So yeah, I think those neural spines probably would cause a problem. Yeah. And no, it's a good question, Sloppy Salamander. You asked it well, also. So yeah. Anyway, good stuff. Yeah. SB says, how can they be duck-billed dinosaurs if ducks weren't around yet? Well, duck-billed dinosaurs came before ducks, obviously. So really, we should call ducks hadrosaur birds. I don't know. But yeah. But good stuff. Yeah. Well, let me check on our battery here. It might be about to die. Let's see. Looking right here. Come on. It's looking pretty low. Shoot. I am going to go ahead and wrap up the stream shortly. Let's find somebody to raid into. Hopefully somebody doing some science. And, yeah. Here we go. Who else is live right now? Up there. Go to watch. Let's see here. Maybe let's go right into Granny. I've never really watched Granny before, but they've got a lot of people watching right now. And if we're trying to bring new people into the channel, it's going to be a great way to do it. So this may or may not be a mature channel. We will have to see. But let's go see what Granny is up to. They've got roughly the same number of viewers as us right now. There we go. Raid Granny. There we go. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Did that work? Yeah, excellent. All right, it's counting down right now. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Thank you for your viewership, for your questions. Thank you, maybe most of all, for your financial support. That's what makes all this possible, so thank you for that. Cross your fingers that the encoder device right here starts actually charging, because without that, we won't be able to do streams like this. We'll have to figure something else out, and that would be a huge pain in the butt. Anyway, cross your fingers. Anyway, it's been a privilege to be able to broadcast to you and share some fossil science with you. And hopefully I'll see you very soon. So thank you again, everybody. And let's go see what Granny's up to. All right. See you there. Bye-bye.